So I read 6 books in total in January. I loved the romance in this book. My 4th book of the month was Mile High by excellent Enemies to Lovers, a 4-star kind of rater. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share my January reading wrap up with you. So I read 6 books in total in January. There was a mix of romance and fantasy and I rated them all quite high star ratings, to be honest. It was a good reading month, but I thought let's have a talk through everything, share what star ratings I gave them and whether I recommend them. So book number 1 that I read in January was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is a young adult romance. It's set in the world of chess. So Mallory is a chess player, but she's not actively involved in any competitions or playing chess. She has cut chess out from her life completely. But her friend convinces her to go to a competition where she plays MMC Nolan in a game of chess. Nolan is the world's #1. He is unbeaten. And yet Mallory plays him and Mallory beats him, and this of course catches his attention because he becomes obsessed with wanting to play Mallory at chess again. Mallory refuses to play him though, but she does end up back in the chess world when she loses her job and the only job available to her is to play chess. I loved the romance in this book. I love the tension between the 2 characters. There is a lot of brilliant witty banter as well, which Ali Hazelwood is so good at. It's a thoroughly enjoyable story, a nice easy read, young adult romance, and I've given it 4 stars and I would definitely recommend it. The second book I read in January was The Bond That Burns by Briar Boleyn, and this is book 2 in the Bloodwing Academy series. So if you haven't read book 1, FMC Medra is a fae and she wakes up in this unknown land. She doesn't know how she got there, and some vampires come along, capture her and take her off to the leaders, where they decide that she should be betrothed to Blake, who is at MMC, and he's also pretty high up in the vampire world. And he takes her off to Bloodwing Academy because basically her fae characteristics mark her as a dragon rider, and dragon riders have actually died out in this land that she has landed in. So when she turns up, they are of course very surprised and want to know why she's there. Just in case you're interested, I gave book 1 on Wings of Blood 4 stars. It was slow burn, it was Enemies to Lovers. There was a lot of world building and character building in the beginning, but I personally really love that. That's why I gave it 4 stars. Book 2 starts off with the action much more. I don't know whether this was personally myself, like the mood I was in at the time, but it took me a good 50% of the book to properly get into the story. But once the story started to progress and I properly got into it, it was so good. The ending of this book, absolutely brilliant, and a cliffhanger. All I can say is I'm glad it's not long until book 3 comes out because I need to know what is going to happen. I think it's just 3 books in the entire series, so I think the story finishes in the next book. A couple of things in this one. Blake at MMC, he's not likeable. In book 1 he wasn't likeable, but I felt like you could see why he was the way he was. Book 2, I don't know what happened in the beginning. It was not only that he was horrible, it's that he didn't care he was horrible. I don't know. He kind of grew as the book went on. I didn't hate him in the second half as much as I disliked him in the first half, but he is pretty horrible to FMC. But it is Enemies to Lovers, and the fact that he is so horrible obviously gives you a bigger payoff in the whole Enemies to Lovers thing when they finally do some things. It is pretty spicy. I would say in fact quite a lot spicy. But yes, the plot of the story is definitely thickening. We're in for a big banger of a finale in book 3, I think, and I gave the book 4 stars. Book 3 in January was another book by Ali Hazelwood and it was Mate. So this is a paranormal romance. It is Enemies to Lovers or Dislike to Lovers. It has weirs, it has half weirs, it has vampires. So this book, Mate, comes after the book Bride. I wouldn't say it was a series, more like interconnected standalones, but some of the key story plots you learn in Bride. So I would say you have to read Bride first to understand more how the world works. There isn't a lot of world building in this book because that all came in the first book, Bride. So this story follows Serena, who is a human werewolf hybrid, and her mate, who is Cohen. Some of the vampires have decided they don't like the idea of a hybrid, so they're trying to kidnap Serena, kill Serena or whatever. So she goes and lives with Cohen for her own safety. Cohen, for whatever reason, even though he knows Serena is her mate, he has no interest in being in a relationship with her. He tells her point blank, I'm not interested. We don't know why he's not interested, because clearly he's attracted to her. They are mates after all. There is a huge amount of spice in this book. Like, one of the chapters towards the end is literally just full spice. This book is not tame, that's for sure. And I cannot talk about the spice without talking about the subject of knotting. If you regularly read books in the Omegaverse with werewolves, then you might have come across knotting before. I, however, have not. I first encountered knotting in Bride. It gave me the ick in book 1. I wasn't expecting it though, so I thought maybe in Mates it would be okay because I knew it was coming. Turns out no, knotting just fully gives me the ick. It's not for me. If you don't know what knotting is, I will allow you to Google it for yourself. Basically, it's weird dog sex. Knotting aside though, I did really enjoy the book. I enjoyed the banter. Again, Ali Hazelwood, brilliant at banter. I enjoyed the storyline, getting to know why Cohen was the way he was. I really enjoyed Serena as a character, and I really enjoyed seeing her friendship with Misery a bit more in this book. Misery was the FMC in Bride, and you get to see them together a bit more, and I really enjoyed their friendship. It was, again, just a really easy read, enjoyable story, and I gave it 4 stars. My 4th book of the month was Mile High by Liz Tom Ford. I did enjoy this book. I can't say that I didn't enjoy it. There was just something missing in it that I didn't really connect with the characters, and I didn't really feel in the story. Again, it's possibly how I felt in the month. January was a pretty tough month. I was poorly twice. Life was a bit chaotic. It might just have been me, but I just felt a bit disconnected from it until the very end. The MMC, whose name I have forgotten right now, Evan Zanders, his character is very arrogant and very cocky, which, if that's your kind of thing, you might think he's a brilliant MMC. Me personally, I do not find arrogance attractive. There is a fine line for me between arrogance and confidence, and he was just on the side of arrogance for me, and I didn't like it. But there is character growth. He does get better, and I do understand why he is so cocky because of the life that he's had. I do get that from the story. FMC Stevie, I really liked her as a character as well, to be honest. The one thing that did irritate me about her, and it wasn't her character specifically, it was how she was written. So she has a lot of body confidence issues, and there's mention of her being curvy. There's mention of her having a bit of a tummy. There's mention of her being not a size 2, and the ambiguity about her size really bothered me. It felt like they didn't want to say she was 2 plus size because that would be unattractive, but they just needed her to be big enough for her to have body issues. And I know that's the way it is for a lot of people. I just felt like they could have been more specific on what size she was, because I find it quite hard to believe that everyone would rip into her and make fun of her size if she was just a curvy woman. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, apart from those things, it's a hockey romance, it's Dislike to Lovers, reformed playboy, it's forbidden love, workplace romance. I personally feel like the story was also a bit longer than it needed to be, because it felt like you were at the end. I was only about 75% of the way through, and it felt like I should be nearing the end, but then there was this something went wrong, which we did need in the storyline because it gave Evan time for his character to grow, to fix his relationship with his parents, for Stevie to sort out some issues of her own. But it just felt like we were at the end, and then, oh no, something's gone wrong. It is book 1 in a series though, and I am looking forward to carrying on with the series. It's the Windy City series. Book 2 is Ryan Shea's story, which is Stevie's brother. We've already met him in book 1, and his FMC, who is Stevie's best friend. So I am looking forward to continuing with the series, and it wasn't a bad book. This is what I feel like. It wasn't unenjoyable. There was just something, I just wasn't fully invested. Like I say, that could have been just how I was feeling at the time. I would recommend it though, and I gave it 3 stars. My next read for January, book 5, was Hollow by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, and I loved this book. I am a big fan of the two sisters and I've read a lot of things they've written. They are the authors of the Zodiac Academy series. So Hollow is book 1 in a brand new series from the sisters, the Crown of Hearts and Chaos series. It's set on an island, and in the middle of this island is a forest, and this forest is slowly consuming all of the towns and all of the people. They're being slowly pushed back and back with less and less space to go, to the point where they're all going to die basically. But every 50 years there is something called the Great Hunt, and Fae and humans alike can send champions into the forest to try and break the curse and save everybody. And this next Great Hunt is basically the last chance. If nobody breaks the curse this time, then they're going to run out of time basically. So Ferris is our FMC, and she is not one of the main champions, but she has every intention of joining the hunt, which she does. And while she's on the hunt, she meets Hendrix, who is our MMC, and he is a dark and broody fae who has a lot of secrets. We don't know what those secrets are until later on in the book, and there's just a lot of really good tension between Ferris and Hendrix because they decide to work together but they hate each other. Excellent enemies to lovers setup. The way the sisters wrote this, I honestly was gripped from chapter 2. I really enjoyed the world building with the story of the forest and the curse and the spirits that live in this forest. The story ended on a big cliffhanger once again. It kind of tied up this story, but then a new one starting. So I'm very interested to see how the story progresses and how the relationship between Ferris and Hendrix progresses, because we had like an enemies to lovers back to enemies kind of arc, which means we get enemies to lovers all over again in book 2, which I'm down for. You know I love me some enemies to lovers. I gave the book 4 stars. Brilliant read, definitely recommend. So my 6th and final read for January was a reread for me, and it was An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. This is of course the book that series 4 of Bridgerton is based on, which is why I wanted to reread it, because Bridgerton season 4 was out on the 29th of January and I wanted to reread the story before I watched it on the TV. It's been a really long time since I read it, so there were a lot of key details that I'd forgotten, but I did really enjoy it. I can't say Benedict Bridgerton is my favourite out of the Bridgerton brothers. I do find him a little bit whiny, a little bit poor me, but I do really love Sophie as a character. She has quite a lot of sass. But basically it's a Cinderella retelling, forbidden love story. So Sophie is an illegitimate daughter of an earl, and she is living and working as a maid, but sneaks out to the Bridgerton masquerade ball where she meets Benedict. They have a perfect couple of hours together. The clock strikes midnight and she has to get back home, back to her maid life, but she gets found out by her stepmother, who she is a maid for. She gets cast out and has to go and find a job elsewhere. And then in the story we jump forward 2 years and she's at a house party. She gets into difficulty and Benedict Bridgerton is the one to save her. She of course recognises him, but he does not recognise her. So it's a really interesting love story with the different classes, how that comes about, like how that progresses, how that works itself out. One thing I did really enjoy in the books was getting to know the character of Violet Bridgerton more. I feel like TV Violet Bridgerton is quite different to book Violet Bridgerton. She's a lot more softer and a lot more maternal in the books, and in this storyline you really learn how much family means to her, how much love means to her, and how much her children mean to her. And I think that's a really nice part of the story. If I was to give the book a star rating, I'd probably say 3 stars. I gave a lot, I gave Mile High 3 stars, but I gave all the other books 4 stars, and I feel like I'm over starring. I know starring's not a doing word, but I'm over starring them. I'm being too generous. I don't like to mark people down, but I gave books earlier in the month a 4 star, and then when it came to Hollow, it wasn't good enough to be a 5 star, but it was better than the other 4 stars. So yeah, I need to work out my starring system a little bit better. Maybe I need to start doing half stars, or maybe I just enjoy a lot of books and they all deserve their 4-star. Because I do really love the Bridgerton series, and if somebody said to me, would you reread An Offer from a Gentleman in the future, I would say yes. If they said to me, would you reread Mile High? I don't know. So maybe Bridgerton, maybe An Offer from a Gentleman does deserve 4 stars. Maybe I'm just a 4-star kind of rater. But yes, those are all 6 of the books that I read in January. I think overall it was a really good reading month. I enjoyed all of the books I read, and I think I had a good mix of romance and fantasy. I shared my February reading list last week, so if you've seen that already, you will. I think I've got a bigger mix of books in February than I had in January. But yeah, overall a really good reading month. Let me know if you've read any of these books or if you want to read any of these books. Have I changed your mind with my star ratings? And I also really hope that you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and please subscribe. This is a really new channel for me. This is only my 3rd video, so every little bit of engagement really does help me and really does help my channel to grow. So thank you for watching, and I will be back with another video very soon. Bye!